मुमुक्षूणाम् अपेक्षोऽयम् आत्मबोधो विधीयते. So in this Atma Bodh, we are seeing what is the true I, Aham, which is called as Atma. So, two bodies we saw, gross body and the subtle body, in verses 12 and 13. Oh, we have not done subtle body yet. Oh, okay, only gross body we did. Okay. So what is important to understand here is it is a body which is bhoga ayatanam. It is an instrument. Well, we did that human birth, no? 12th we did, that is the gross body. Last week, that's what we had the whole discussion on the importance of human birth and all that. So it's an equipment which is the most suited for realizing the self. Now, who is the experiencer who uses this equipment? That is the subtle body. This is called subtle body because it is made up of subtle 5 elements. Gross body is perceptible to the senses. The 5 senses, we can see, hear, taste, smell, touch. The gross body is perceptible. But the subtle body is not perceptible to the senses. Hence also it is called subtle. So 2 reasons why it is called subtle. One is because it's made up of subtle 5 elements which don't mix with each other. Other is because it's not perceptible to the gross senses. So the one who is functioning through this gross body, that experiencer, is the subtle body. That is verse 13. Pancha prana mano buddhi dashendriya samanvitam apanchikrita bhutotham Sukshmangam bhoga sadhanam. So, Pancha Prana, 5 pranas. What is prana? Prana is the vital energy which nourishes the body and the mind. It is not air, it is not oxygen, it is vital energy, prana shakti. And it is there in all the 5 elements. Our body being made up of 5 elements, it needs the 5 pranas from the 5 elements. So this subtle body has 5 pranas. They are called prana, where we take in, apana, when we give out the air, vyana is the circulation, udana is all the reactionary processes as well as the creativity, etc. And samana is assimilation. That's why we do the Naivedya, we say pranaya swaha, apanaya swaha, vyanaya swaha, udanaya swaha, samanaya swaha. Those 5 are because the food is digested by prana. Hunger and thirst is because of prana. So if prana is taken care of, hunger, thirst is taken care of properly. If the metabolism is strong, which they call as metabolism today, in one sense it is prana. So these 5 pranas, then 10 senses. The ability to see, hear, taste, smell, touch. These are 5 senses of knowledge. Indriyas are called. And 5 karmendriyas. So movement, grasping, speaking, evacuation, reproduction. 10. Totally 10 senses of knowledge and action combined together. Now these are called sense faculties. These are not the organs. Organs are in the body. Eye is in the gross body. Capability to see is in the mind or subtle body. So when one leaves the gross body, only the organ gets destroyed. The capability continues with one. So there is no problem that how will I see in the next life. Some people have this doubt. If I donate my eyes in this life, next life I will be blind. It's such an illogical thought. Because even if you don't donate the eyes, anyway eye is burnt or gets decayed. So we are not seeing because of the physical eye only of this birth. That way to the whole body we have to carry in the next janma. So we are seeing because of the capabilities, which are called senses. It's a faculty, sense faculties. So these 10 sense faculties, they will come with us. 5 pranas, they constitute this. And 2 more, mana and buddhi. Mind is the seat of emotions, buddhi is the seat of knowledge and logic, rationality. 17 items make up this subtle body of ours. And sometimes they add 2 more, chitta and ahankar, memory and ego.
10 of the senses, 5 the plants and these 2.
Mind and intellect. Mind, intellect. And then memory, ego. Memory and ego, chitta and ahankar. 19 items is what is our subtle body made up of. These 19 items function through the gross body. And these 19 items are made up of what raw material? Apanchikrita bhutotham. They are made up of 5 ungrossified elements. Meaning space is by itself space, air is by itself air. It has not mixed with each other. Like the earlier one, where the grossification happens. Where we saw, one element divides itself into 2 halves. And then 1 half goes through 4 divisions. And each of those divisions, 1/8 goes to the other 4 elements. So every element becomes a composition of half of its own self and 1/8 of the other 4 elements. That is called gross 5 elements. This is made up of subtle 5 elements where they have not mixed with each other. Apanchikrita bhutotham. Sukshmangam bhoga sadhanam. Hence it is called sukshma. Now what are the points to understand in this subtle body? One is that this subtle body of ours is responsible for all our experiences, what we go through, not the gross body. The quality of the subtle body determines the quality of the experiences. So if the mind has the thought of happiness, then I feel happy. If the mind has no thought of happiness, I will not feel happy. Body is just a tool. The experiencer through the body is the mind. Which is why we see in some cases the body is fine, but if the mind is or the sense capabilities are not functioning properly through the physical senses, experience will be dull. One will not experience anything. Because if the experiencer is the mind, intellect, prana, the 10 senses, these 19 items constitute the experiencer. And this experiencer is one who identifies with the gross body and feels bound, limited, and wants to desire more and more things for becoming happy. So till those desires of the experiencer don't get fulfilled, what will happen? It will keep taking new bodies. So when we come into the body, we come with 19 items of subtle body. There are 2 more, which is ignorance and vasanas, that is the next body, causal body. So 21 items we come into this gross body. And when we leave the gross body also, 21 items we take out and go. So nobody comes empty-handed and nobody goes empty-handed. Externally, yes, but internally, we come loaded. We go also much more loaded. So 21 items. And it is this subtle body which is the difference between every individual, how they respond to the situation. Two people experience the same situation. How two people's responses will be different is not because of just the gross body. It is mainly because of subtle body. Yes, gross body, if there are differences, somebody can see, somebody can't see, then there will be a different experience. But assuming their bodies are similar, physically no limitations for both of them, the quality will determine by the subtle body, how they will experience it.
So only the three gunas would they figure
Here only, the quality of the mind, intellect will be dependent on the three gunas. And it will also figure in the subtle body, causal body. The vasanas also are sattvic, rajasic, tamasic. So the desires in the intellect, emotions in the mind will be sattvic, rajasic, tamasic. So all of you have sattvic desire right now, so you are sitting here in satsang. So because the desire manifests as the buddhi, in the buddhi, then one has emotions, then one does actions at the gross level. So vasanas make the desires, desires manifest as thoughts, thoughts manifest as action. So quality of vasanas determines the quality of desires. So sattva, rajas, tamas affects from the vasana onwards. No. In Vedanta, vasana means just a impression, not desire. Impression. Repeated, a strong impression is called as a vasana. A single impression is called samskara. When that samskar gets repeated and strengthened, that repeated samskar becomes a vasana. So that vasana is an unmanifest thing. It is in the causal body. We will know what type of vasana we have only when it manifests as a desire in the intellect, in the subtle body. Till then we don't know what type of vasana also is there. So from the quality of desires we infer these type of vasanas will be there. So sattva, rajas, tamas affects our vasanas, that internally, then that in turn manifests as desires in the intellect.
where is the karma hal or whatever that is? Where will that be?
Why should karma phala be somewhere? The body is a result of prarabdha, which is karma of the past life. Whatever karma I have done, to experience that karma phala, this body is got. Now this body's lifespan is determined by the number of karma phalas it has come to exhaust. So suppose it has to live for 30 years. That is the prarabdha of the body. What all it will go through in the 30 years is the prarabdha of the body. Now how does it manifest? It manifests through the causal body. Because it is unmanifest causal body. Then through the causal body it will manifest, I am talking about individual. In the individual's life it will manifest through subtle body, desire, thought, and then that will push that person to action, and then the result will come, there will be a response by this person. So for the individual it will manifest through the causal body, subtle body, gross body. And the circumstances that, like right now if all of us are sitting here, it is our karma which has brought us together. That is the job of Ishvara. So individually it will manifest in me through my subtle bodies, causal body, subtle body, gross body. Collectively it will manifest when Bhagavan ensures that the appropriate jivas will come together to offset their karmic accounts. That is his job. So that we call it is there in the total mind, Hiranyagarbha. Or we can call it even in Ishvara. Same process of individual manifests even in the Ishvara. From Ishvara to Hiranyagarbha to Virat. It will manifest like that. So it is not in like a place, one place it is stored like a data. No, it's not like that. It's in the mind. Subtle body, causal body, stored like that. And that's how it carries forward. If it is a physical place, then it is moksha is very easy. Go and destroy that place. Ho gaya. We are freed from all karma.
Experience differently because your vasanas are different.
Yes. The basic cause is the vasanas are different. But the vasanas which are there, we don't know.
Yes.
So we will know only when it manifests as subtle body. So we say mainly the differences are because of subtle body. How the subtle body, the quality of subtle body, that determines the differences in the people's response. Now this subtle body is a very important aspect to understand many things. One aspect is that birth means association of the subtle body with the gross body, and death means disassociation of the subtle body with the gross body. So we generally think of death as death of the body. But we should remember body is already dead. If subtle body does not enliven this gross body, the body is already dead. It is only made up of 5 gross inert elements. So body cannot die. It was already dead. What kept it alive was the subtle body. How did subtle body keep it alive? It is also made up of 5 subtle elements. But it has the buddhi, which has the special capability of reflecting consciousness, mind and intellect. So that consciousness, when it reflects in the subtle body, we feel the sense of I am Mr. So and so. That jiva is what we feel as the ego, ahankar. So man, buddhi, chitta and ahankar. The ahankar is that consciousness reflecting in one subtle body which feels the jiva bhav. So that consciousness which is all pervasive now suddenly gets limited by one subtle body. So feels I am this Mr. So and so, the individual. So this is what we have to separate. That the consciousness is Atma, which is me. Subtle body is enlivened by consciousness. I am not this subtle body. Why are we understanding this gross body, subtle body, causal body? Is to separate this. We should not understand this that, oh, I am being described as the subtle body. No. This is to negate that I am not this. This is 5 elements. Consciousness enlivens these 5 elements. Then this subtle body gets alive as though, and then that further identifies with gross body. I am neither the gross body nor the subtle body. I am consciousness. That is called Atma Bodh. Today I have thought of myself as gross body plus subtle body. I am this Mr. So and so, who is a combination of gross and subtle. Causal and consciousness, so we don't know only. Till we come to Vedanta, we have no idea there is something called causal body, and then beyond that is consciousness. Today my understanding of I is, I am a combination of this gross body plus subtle body. Vedanta is saying, no, you are not this. This is 5 elements. And they are inert by themselves. So body by itself doesn't live. Subtle body has to function through it. Birth means the association of subtle body with the gross body. And then the child is born. And that in Garbhopanishad they have written also. Between the 6th week and the 12th week, the jiva will associate with the gross body. Till then it is growing as a part of mother's body. Then the jiva will associate. No, not on its own. By karma only it will associate. Once it associates with that, now all the thoughts, vasanas that the jiva has, they will start influencing the mother also. And the mother's thoughts, etc., will start influencing the child also. Because now there are 2 entities. Earlier there was only one entity. So karma brings these together. So birth is subtle body identifying with gross body, and then further the child is born. And death is the ejection of the gross subtle body from the gross body. So that Udana Vayu which is there, of the 5 pranas, the 4th one is Udana. That Udana Vayu is responsible for collecting all the elements, all the ingredients, the 5 senses of knowledge, 5 senses of action, mind, intellect, memory, ego, the other 4 pranas. All these 20 items, vasanas, ignorance, all this it will pull out of this gross body and go. Now Atma is that which enlivens this whole process. Atma doesn't go anywhere, it doesn't come anywhere, it doesn't go inside, doesn't come outside, it is all pervasive. What goes out of the body is Jivatma. What comes into the body also is Jivatma. And who is this Jivatma? Infinite Atma conditioned with one subtle body, causal body, is called Jivatma. So technically when we say a person, his soul passed, or his soul took another body, technically we have to say the embodied soul took the next body. Because by itself the soul is infinite, it doesn't go anywhere, it doesn't take any new bodies. It is just infinite truth. Jivatma goes. Atma doesn't go anywhere. So word soul means Atma, infinite truth. Jivatma means embodied soul. That embodied soul, while the body is there, it is called embodied soul. When the body is dropped, it is called disembodied soul. So Preta is a disembodied soul, which has no physical body, and it has a Preta Sharir. So this subtle body is one another thing that it needs a gross body to express. It cannot function without gross body. And so there is a difference between the mind and the brain. You see, this simple difference, so many people don't know. Mind and brain, there is a difference. What functions through what? Mind functions through brain, or brain functions through mind? Brain functions through the mind.
They're separate. Brain functions on its own, mind functions.
How?
Brain is a physical.
Brain is physical, and the mind is more
subtle.
But mind functions through the brain, no? Or are they functioning separately?
Brain gives command to mind.
Oh, brain gives command to mind. That's what I'm saying. So brain is functioning through mind.
It's mind controls the brain. Gives command to the mind. So mind is functioning through the brain.
No, brain gives command to mind, matlab mind is functioning according to the brain.
No, the mind controls the brain. Brain is the controlling factor of the body.
The brain is the
Brain is controlling factor of body. Right now we are not talking about brain and body. We are talking about brain and mind. Between brain and mind, who gives instruction to whom?
The mind gives to the brain.
How many say mind gives instruction to brain?
It's all in the mind. It's all in the mind, but brain is in the mind.
Mind gives to the brain. So some of you say brain gave to the mind. Why?
But if your brain is mind, your mind is giving this direction. The mind is trying to anchor it to this is wrong, you don't do this. The brain
That is intellect. That is intellect which will control the mind's wandering. Either of these, wandering and control, is happening through the physical brain or not? Or is it happening independently? If it is happening independently, how do I recognize it? I meaning this body, how does it recognize that? It's not happening independently. Wandering is also happening through the brain only. Control is also happening through the brain only. But who is controlling whom? Brain is controlling mind, mind is controlling brain.
I personally feel brain is controlling mind.
How? Now don't, no. Mind, intellect here mean the same. Yeah. Mind, intellect combined together, subtle body. See, subtle will always control the gross. Very simple. Mind controls the brain.
Controls your thoughts, and therefore your mind.
No, that's the difference in science and Vedanta. We think that the brain controls the thoughts. But actually every single thought manifests in the brain. And that's how you see the, what is that called? EEG. EEG, no? I don't know the full form, I forgot the EEG. But the brain, when they put those things, electrodes and all, and then they will show the graph, the brain activity, no? Like ECG. So that is the expression of the thoughts of the mind in the brain. Brain is the gross organ. Mind is the subtle organ. Now if the brain is not functioning properly, we see that the person is in coma or whatever. Some mind is still there, and that's how the person comes back, no? When the brain gets recovered or some it will start functioning well, then it will again come back. That person will again start.
Guruji, when brain is dead, body parts are in working. They say
No, body parts cannot work. If brain is dead, body is dead.
brain, when they say dead, brain is dead, but person is alive.
How is that possible?
It is possible.
Because
Within the person
the
is.
gets then the brain can't work. Your person is breathing, that's all. Then coma.
Heart beats.
Open hands, coma.
Mentally.
No, coma is a different thing. It is not brain dead.
No. This is brain dead person lives for a. You have to.
No, brain is damaged. It is not brain dead. Brain dead matlab gaya. No?
You cannot regenerate. If the stem cell goes, no regeneration.
Brain dead is not
You can't, the person cannot
Brain
come
dead,
back.
but
you
you
get
can
15
live
days,
here.
20 days.
It's a part of the brain. If it damage,
Artificially, you put the person.
No, artificially you keep them on, that's a different point. I am saying,
For some days.
I always thought brain dead means a person is dead.
No. You can be kept alive with the brain dead. On ventilator. Yes, on the machine you can. The brain cannot function, the stem cell goes.
Brain doesn't, senses good.
I don't
Stem
know.
cell goes, the brain cannot
Yeah.
regenerate. It cannot regenerate. That's not
No, so what is the question?
A person who is
No, what is the question?
brain dead person.
Huh.
The brain is dead, how can mind go?
Our mind is not working in that person at that moment because the expression faculty of the brain is not functioning. If you make that brain of that person function, mind will again start functioning.
Because aren't they sitting in a coma, but they can still hear
Yeah, no,
what
but
you
how
are
is
saying.
it that they have a
Yeah.
mind
Until you talk to the person,
Yeah.
they can still hear you.
They'll still hear you, they will know.
And they have the zest, they want to fight it.
Yeah.
And Swami said, why they say, they say actually you are what you eat, but actually you eat what you are.
Both ways, yeah.
Isn't that what it means? That the mind controlling.
Yeah, both, but that it works both ways. Of course, subtle controls the gross, but the state of the gross also will affect the subtle.
Yeah, like you said, even for the body, that's the same thing.
Yeah, control is of course by the subtle to the gross, but the state of the gross will affect. So in this case, the brain is dead, the mind is not capable of functioning. Same like eyes, no? Eyes are not proper, the capability to see will not function. You make the eye proper, again you will start seeing.
Brain is dead, they remove the organs, they donate the organs.
Ah.
So brain function is stopped, the body is functioning. So they remove the organs from the body and give to other one, implant in someone.
That they can do.
But brain dead, how can, when mind is working?
See, we are not seeing the expression of the mind working because the organ is affected. Organ is affected. But if you are able to rectify that organ, it will start functioning. And also the fact is, like she said earlier, that coma, when people go into coma, their body is not in the physical condition where you and I can talk to them. but you still talk to the person. When that person comes out of coma, the person will tell you so many things. How did they know if their mind was not functioning? Subtle body. I am not a physician to tell you coma and brain dead. My point is very simple, that the mind is the one which is subtler. Okay, the mind is the one which is subtler, and that exists independent of the brain condition actually. Because you just think about it, how did rebirth happen otherwise? Brain to dead, body is burnt. How is that jiva going ahead? If mind is not independent of the brain, how is the jiva going ahead? How is a child going to remember? Some of the child prodigies who are there, they remember all the knowledge of their past. How did they remember? The brain to got burnt. So brain is just a physical organ. And yes, the state of that physical organ does affect the mind's functioning. So if that physical organ is not functioning properly, we will not see the expression of mind, but mind is still there. And that is the mind which is going ahead in the next body. And so many children or so many people, they remember their past lives. They will tell you, I was such and such person, I did this, these are my relatives, all that. And then they have gone and verified also. So if the mind is not independent of the brain, all this cannot happen. Unfortunately, it is not independent. If it was independent, moksha is very easy. Because the brain ke saath mind bhi jala diya. No continuity only will be there. Then we can live as we want. No need of any morality, dharma, no nothing. Just live. One life theory it is called. This is the only life.
Some people have that near-death experience.
Ah.
You see that person has passed away.
Yeah.
They see something. They come back to life, and they narrate things also because they've seen their family members with their body. And everything.
Yeah. Those NDE, that is called near-death experience. It's stunning. They will see those things. They will understand the emotions, everything. Then they will go, and then they sometimes go further also. It depends on how far they have gone. Some of them just get out, eject, see some things in few minutes, they come back. And some come back after some days also. One famous example of that right now is one lady from Hong Kong, no, Anita. She's written a book and she's going on giving talks. No. What are you saying? Anita Moorjani. She never came to our class. No, that is Vidya Moorjani. That. Anita Moorjani came to our class. Pata nahi. Really? I too don't remember only. Maybe. Must have come. Anyway, those things prove, what do they prove? That mind exists independent of the brain.
So Swamiji, bad habits are like that. The brain says that this is wrong, but mind controls and makes it good.
Brain doesn't say anything. Buddhi will tell you. Buddhi will tell you. Brain knows nothing. Buddhi will know. Buddhi will tell you this is wrong. But mind is impulsive. Body attachment is there. The brain is bichara following instructions of the mind and buddhi only. That's how you train the mind and buddhi, then brain will get trained. Vivek is that only. The ability to discriminate is buddhi, no? So that buddhi is what is telling you right and wrong. That also depends on our knowledge. If a knowledge only is wrong in the buddhi, then it won't even say. It will say wrong is right, right is wrong. So that depends on the knowledge that the buddhi has got. So the point to understand here is this, that brain is a physical thing, mind is a subtle body, and it is this subtle body which goes through different gross bodies. I am neither the gross body nor the 5 pranas, nor the 10 senses, nor the mind, intellect, memory, ego. Who am I? I am the Atma which enlivens all. But today I have forgotten that Atma. I think I am one of these or a combination of these. And so when this goes through anything, I feel I am going through it. So when I said birth is the birth of the gross body and subtle body associating with it, then birth. And death is the disassociation of subtle body from gross body. We don't see it like that. No, we see it as I am born, I am dead. That is because we have connected Atma to the condition of the subtle body and the gross body. That is not my condition. I am unborn, undying. That is the nature of Atma. Now this subtle body is specifically experienced in dream state. So this dream state, we are not aware of physical body, but a whole dream world is created by this subtle body. And have you ever wondered that with whatever capabilities one has at the body level and limitations that one has, in the dream none of them exist. Like you don't have to wear glasses and sleep to see your dream. How are you able to see the dream? Because the capability of seeing is in the subtle body. And hence they are able to see the dream. All the 5 senses at the body level are dormant when we are sleeping. But in the dream, everything we experience. That's the proof that subtle body is different from the gross body. Of course, it will have an impact on the gross body. So if you see some tiger chasing you and then you suddenly get scared and then you are frightened and you get up, your heartbeat will be there, palpitation will be there. Because the impact of the thought on the body is there and you got up with a jerk, so it is there, the impact is there. But the dream state proves that there is a subtle body which exists independent actually of the gross body. So that is one aspect. And this also is one of the things to prove to us that mind is much more stronger and powerful than the body. When we say mind over matter, is because the mind is made up of subtle 5 elements and body is made up of gross 5 elements. But today we are doing ulta, no? Body is controlling the mind. The fact is mind is subtler than the body, more powerful than the body, more pervasive than the body, and outlasts the death of the body also. But still today the body controls the mind because we have given that much power to the body. How? Because we start getting fascinated and attached. So every day I drink coffee, now I got attached to coffee. Now that coffee will be there. The tongue will crave. The real craving is in the mind, but the tongue will also crave. So then I have to depend on it. Then I will need it, otherwise I will feel miserable. So how our body, the senses, how we train it is a very important factor. Though it is supposed to be that the mind must control the body, today the state of the body controls the whole mind. How we look, that is dependent on the body. But confidence is connected to that or not? So much it is got connected. If somebody calls you auntie, finished. How one feels? No, don't call me auntie. Call me Didi. People are very...
Did can I share? I went to Siddhivinayak Mandir yesterday. Our old man told me, आप ये लाइन में आएंगे तो आपको 100 रुपया नहीं लगेगा क्योंकि सीनियर सिटीजन को old man
He was telling you out of genuine concern, no? कि भाई आप आ जाओ 100 रुपया नहीं लगेगा. But the mind takes offense, no? See? At that time we should apply Vedanta. I am not the body.
Today they had some project day in my schools, you were explaining 4 stages of life according, in the Vedic period and
Yeah.
so that little child is saying, so you are in second stage, 25 to 50. I said, God bless you.
Yeah. How we feel, na? So much of identification with the body that if somebody tells you, if somebody introduces you and says, this person is 53 years old, you will say, no, I am 52.5.
Swamiji, there are some who just increase their age only.
Both ways.
53 when they are not.
That is also possible. But the point is, as a subtle body, what is your age? You think about it. 52 or 53 is the age of what? Gross body. As subtle body, what is your age? Minimum 84 lakh species you have gone through to come to first human body. What is your age? Beginningless is the jiva. And here I am bargaining for 6 months. And Vedanta is saying you are not even this jiva. You are that infinite pure Brahman consciousness, unborn, undying, unchanging. You are that bliss. But no, I am this. That is called bondage. So the idea of studying subtle body is this. And we celebrate that birthday, and as we go closer and closer to that birthday, every birthday we go closer to the death of the body. And then fear will start coming. What is going to happen? Is there life after death? What will happen to me? Till certain age, that thought only doesn't come. One acts however one likes. After some point, that thought starts striking. Arey baap re. What all karma I have done? The karma is such a real word. Is it true? Is this going to happen? Will I reap the results of my action? All fear, everything starts. But you are not this body at all. You are not the jiva at all. That doesn't mean I become irresponsible, but the fact is, the faster I detach from this subtle body, gross body, and realize my Atma, the more free I am. The purpose of studying Vedanta is that. So this subtle body is that very beautiful aspect.
Swamiji, so when they say that when you do pranayam, that helps to control the mind. So within the subtle body also, they have their own
Hierarchy. Yeah. Senses are grosser, prana is subtler, mind is subtler than prana, intellect is subtler than mind. Within the subtle body also there is hierarchy. Within the senses also there is hierarchy. Senses of knowledge are subtler than senses of action. Because senses of action cannot act unless senses of knowledge are there. So there is hierarchy. But that is just for us to understand that how should a system function efficiently. Like mind is subtle than prana, and subtler than mind is the buddhi. So like she said, with the buddhi, if I am able to control the mind may impulsively want to enjoy something which is prohibited. But the buddhi says, no, don't do it, this is bad. Then with the buddhi I am controlling the mind. But typically what happens to us? The mind overwhelms the buddhi all the time. Or the body overwhelms both the mind and the buddhi. Gone. Arjun's case, that is what happened. No, mind overwhelmed his buddhi. He is feeling so dejected, depressed, despondent, doesn't want to fight. Bhagavan got back knowledge to him and then restored his thinking and his feeling. He got them integrated, started functioning. So that's how this subtle body is. Sukshmangam bhoga sadhanam. Now the experiencer, that's why, so the condition of this subtle body will determine the condition of my whole life. Today, how much people are going through all this? Depression, sadness, frustration. That is all the condition of the subtle body. Because this subtle body is not having something inspiring to look up to. And most difficult circumstances also people are able to live such productive lives because the subtle body is strong, capable. They will fight against any circumstances, resilience is there, they will come out of it, they will achieve great things. So the quality of a human being is determined actually by the quality of their subtle body. And what determines the quality of the subtle body? Sattva, Rajas and the Tamas. On one hand, that will determine the quality of subtle body. The higher the Sattva guna, the greater is the strength in that personality. Tamo guna will weaken. Better than Tamas is Rajas, better than Rajas is Sattva. So in that hierarchy we have to cultivate. If the subtle body increases maximum Sattva guna, that person is fit for Samadhi. That person will get into that state of realization. So bondage is because of subtle body, liberation is also because of subtle body. You may say, no, bondage is because of ignorance, but that is not manifesting, no. That ignorance and causal body, the vasanas are in causal body. They don't manifest till we are aware of the subtle body and the intellect has desires, emotions in the mind. Till that, we don't even know what it is. So bondage is in the subtle body, liberation also is in the subtle body. The more I am attached, the more I am weak. That attachment is in the subtle body. The more I am detached, the more I am strong. There are different ways to look at this. This is about quality of thoughts. Then comes quantity also. The more number of thoughts and emotions I have, weaker is the mind. Lesser thoughts and emotions I have, stronger is that mind.
Even if they are positive thoughts?
Yes, even if they are positive thoughts. See, this is again a hierarchy. Compared to many negative thoughts, it is better to have many positive thoughts. But from many positive thoughts, I should come down to few positive thoughts. Because those few positive thoughts then have the power of that whole mind to make it happen, to manifest it. Are there not people who keep on making plans? They will keep making 23 plans they will make. Out of that, 5-7 will get executed. And they will say, no, I am not able to achieve. That's because too many thoughts, too many different ideas. Hold on to a few and then put the energy in making those few happen. In the brainstorming stage, you can collect as many thoughts, let them come. People can tell you, suggest, you can also think. But after that, when you finalize a few, then stick to only those. Then they will manifest faster. Because the energy of that mind is conserved and put in those few thoughts. Focused. So the quantity of thoughts makes a big difference. And in Vedanta, quantity makes much more difference because the lesser the thought agitations means the vasana pressure is less. See, the thoughts are coming because of the desires. Desires are coming because of vasanas. That causal body, when we come to, we will see that. So these vasanas are creating all this pressure. By willpower, I cannot reduce the quantity. I have to cleanse the vasanas, exhaust the vasanas. Then only the pressure will be less. Then the thought quantity will be less. Why should the quantity be less? Only when the quantity is less can I recognize the self within. With too many crowded thoughts, recognition of self cannot happen. So if that movie which we see, that movie is a projection of frames, 25 frames per second. FPS it is called, 25 frames per second. Now if that 25 frames per second is there, then we can listen and see properly. If you make it 50 frames per second, suddenly it will all be incomprehensible. So there is an adequate frame per second. Or nowadays they have in music. So you play the music at 1x. Or you can play it at 2x, 4x. How does it sound when you play it at 4x, 8x? What? You can't make out. What are they saying? So it is like that. Too many thoughts, consciousness cannot be experienced. One has to slow down. All this about subtle body I have to understand that this is the nature of the subtle body. quantity of thoughts, quality of thoughts.
But we always associate more thoughts with more thinking and better. If we say the person is not thinking only, there's no thought only, then that we take it as negative.
So compared to no thought and dullness and inertia, more thinking is required. But compared to sattva guna, the quantity of thoughts must reduce. So it again, that's the levels, hierarchy. Person who is dull, lazy, lethargic, if you tell that person now you sit and meditate, that person will sleep only, cannot meditate. To that person you have to tell them to become active, have ambition, goals, achieve, make people realize who you are, leave a mark in the society. So that ambition has to be injected into that person. Then that person's ambition, when it is roused, then that person will start working. Then that person will understand what is dynamism. But along with that will come stress also, because there will be selfishness. From there we lift him to sattva guna, saying now reduce your thought process, become selfless. Start serving, don't ask only for yourself. See how you can give back, how much difference can you make. As that person starts doing selfless work, the quantity of thoughts will reduce. Quality will become more sattvic. Now that person will be ready for meditation. Then the person realizes the self. So no thinking is there in both states. Highest state of realization as well as in the tamas. And they will look similar also. But they are not same. They are very different. So now this is about the subtle body. And who we are is dependent on subtle body. When two people meet, who are meeting actually? Two subtle bodies are meeting. Gross body is just an equipment. And the strange part is we put how much effort to decorate this gross body. How much is what is being done to decorate subtle body? Every day the amount of time we put to decorate this gross body, if 1/10 of that we put to decorate the subtle body, we will reach somewhere. But that subtle body is most neglected. Imagine that subtle body is doing everything. All success, failure, everything is because of subtle body. Relationships because of subtle body. Experiences of life, every moment because of subtle body. So how much attention do I pay to that subtle body? Introspection, sadhana, seva, all that is meant for this subtle body. Now, why is each person the way they are? The subtle body and the gross body, the cause of both these is called causal body. That is called Karana Sharir. That is the 14th verse. Let's do one. Anadya Vidya Nirvachya Karanopādhiruchyate Upadhitritayadanyam Atmanam Avadharayet. So now causal body it is. Karana Sharir, not casual body. So many people say it casual body. Gross body, subtle body, casual body. Casual body nahi, causal body. Causal is the cause, Karana. So gross body is the result of subtle body. See, that's another good connection. Subtle body, how it is, no? Dependent on that will be the form of the gross body also. Which today the medical science also says or not. The thoughts in our mind will translate onto the body also. Hence the psychosomatic diseases, so many psychosomatic diseases. So what is the state of the mind is going to affect the breathing, is going to affect the body, both. Now what is that? Because of which the subtle body is the way it is. Gross body is the way it is because of subtle body. What is that because of it? Subtle body is the way it is. Why does a person desire in a specific way? Why does a person goes through emotion in a specific way? The cause of this is the causal body. That's why it is Karana Sharir. Now what is Karana Sharir? It is actually vasanas and ignorance. That is called Karana Sharir. Vasana here does not have any negative connotation. Vasana here only means a strong impression. Like we said earlier, samskar is one impression. Repeated samskar becomes vasana. Can apply to anything. So this class that we are doing, so now in the beginning it would have been a samskar. Now over so many years we are doing regularly the class, so now it becomes a strong samskar. So that is called as a vasana. So repeated impressions will create the strong samskar, and these vasanas will guide the quality of the thoughts and desires. So sattvic vasana will manifest as sattvic desires in the buddhi, which will manifest as thoughts in the mind and then actions at the body level. So our vasanas are the cause for why we are what we are. Generally people will stop with the thoughts. They will say a man is what he thinks. But why is he thinking like that? There is a cause for it. The vasanas are there. And these vasanas are not just the one which are in this life. We are carrying vasanas of so many previous lives also. Which in some way, I would not say it is exactly equal, but in some way today psychology calls it as the unconscious mind. The unconscious mind is the vasanas, which we call it as unmanifest. The unconscious mind is the major part. Then the subconscious mind is lesser than unconscious mind, and then lesser than subconscious is conscious mind. So conscious mind is the buddhi. Subconscious mind is the mind without the buddhi. Subtle also, and also what we experience in the dream state actually is purely subconscious mind. Buddhi is not there in it. In the waking state our buddhi is there. So all filters are there in the waking state. Because buddhi puts all filters, right, wrong, all that. Subconscious mind, buddhi is not there. It will have a lot of pictures, words, memories, all put inside it. And then still further down is the unconscious mind, which we call as vasana here. So this vasana is the unmanifest tendencies. Each person is what he or she is, or each jiva actually is what the jiva is because of this vasana. Now why do these vasanas exist? Because of ignorance. When I don't know who am I assume myself to be a finite entity and feel incomplete. Now to become complete, depending on my vasanas, I will choose what I want for becoming complete. So somebody has satsang vasana, somebody has movie vasana, somebody has pizza vasana, whatever. Different vasanas one has. That when I associate with these, then I feel happy. Without these, I feel sad. So these vasanas are the guiding forces for subtle body and causal body. According to the vasana, we will take the appropriate bodies also. So if there is vasana, let us say a lot of tamasic vasanas are there, then I can be born as what? Python, banyan tree, any such thing. Because the tamasic vasana has to get exhausted. So depending on the vasana is the subtle body's nature, and then depending on that is the gross body's nature. Now this ignorance of the self is actually the root cause of all this. Hence it is actually called causal body. In Atmabodh, vasana is not mentioned. Even in Tattvabodh, vasana is not mentioned. But we have to infer that no, ignorance of self is mentioned. That's what is said here. Anadi avidya. Avidya is ignorance. But in between this subtle body and the causal body, Vasana is not mentioned in these two books. It is there in other books, Vivek Chudamani and other places, it is there. So from there we infer that causal body has Vasana also. And each person is a manifestation of their tendencies, their Vasanas. But the description of the causal body here is not including Vasana, it is of the ignorance only. Hence it is called Anadi. Ignorance is beginningless. Can we say that ignorance began at a point in time? Suppose you don't know about some place, let us say. What place? Wuhan. Now you don't know what is Wuhan. Can you say from when you don't know about Wuhan? Because if you don't know about Wuhan from a particular time, what was there before it? Knowledge was there. If you had knowledge, ignorance can't come. So it is not possible that ignorance has a beginning. Ignorance is beginningless. From when do I not know the self? That question only is wrong. Because when means time. And time comes into play only when mind is into play. When mind is not there, time is only not there. In deep sleep, time is there or not? No time. Why no time? Because no mind. So time is a product of mind. Mind is a product of causal body. So causal body is like the grandfather, mind is like the father, and time is like the child. Now if the child asks, why was I not there at the wedding of my grandfather? How absurd is that question? Because you were not there only. Because your cause was not there. How will you be there? So in the causal body, when we say when was my first birth, that's a popular question that people will ask. That I am right now like this. After many lives, what was my first birth? There is no first birth. Jiva is beginningless. So Anadi Avidya. Because the cause of that birth is ignorance. And that ignorance has no beginning. Anadi Avidya. Anirvachya. It is indescribable. Can I describe my ignorance? If I start describing, I can describe the object of ignorance. But then if I am describing the object of ignorance, that means I have knowledge. If I start talking about the self and describing the self, that means knowledge of the self is there. So ignorance is indescribable, it is beginningless. It will have an end because of knowledge. That's the difference between ignorance and self. Self is beginningless, endless. Ignorance is beginningless but has an end. Lucky na, otherwise ignorance doesn't end, matlab what? There is no moksha at all. Karana upadhir uchyate. This is called the Karana, the cause. Beginningless ignorance of the self. Please remember the word ignorance here is not ignorance of physics, chemistry, biology, not that. Atma, ignorance of the self. That infinite pure bliss consciousness, that I don't know. Now then I think I am the body. Why should I do that? Because the moment I don't know, immediately there will be a projection. Non-apprehension will lead to misapprehension. If I don't know what is in the dark room, the mind will start projecting. Maybe there is a ghost, maybe there is a thief, maybe there is a dog, anything. It will start projecting. So ignorance will lead to projection. And hence here it is that Karana upadhir uchyate. Ignorance is the cause. Karana upadhir uchyate. So in these two lines, causal body has got described. And until I don't remove this causal body, I cannot be free. So moksha is not going somewhere, becoming something. Moksha is eliminating ignorance and realizing who I am truly. That is called moksha. And nobody can bless me with moksha. It is my ignorance which I have to get out of. So if somebody says, I will touch you and you will get moksha, it is not possible. Because it's my ignorance. Now these three are called upadhi. Upadhi tritayad anyam. Atma is other than these three. Atmanam avadharayet. Know yourself as different from these three. So the effort in human life is to end the causal body. If I end causal body, what will happen? Subtle body also will end, gross body also will end. Swamiji, all three bodies will end. Then who am I? You are that indestructible truth. Moksha is dangerous.
That's the step of moksha.
That is what is moksha. It is not going to happen suddenly when you realize you die. Don't think like that. Body will continue its journey. Like this fan is rotating. If you put off the switch, will it stop immediately? Switch is off, but it has its past momentum, it will go on. So body has its own past momentum, till that it will go on. You realize at 40 years, let us say, body's prarabdha is another 20 years, that 20 years the body will go on. But when that 20 years are over, then what will happen? When that body dies, for an ordinary person, that jiva continues ahead in the next body. But for this realized person, that subtle body also dissolves, goes back to 5 elements. Causal body though is not there only, because while living only he destroyed it. And gross body also went back to 5 elements. Then what happened to him? Became one with the universal self. Ho gaya kaam. No rebirth again. That is called mukti. Experiencing bliss all the time while living is Jivan Mukti, and when the body drops, Videha Mukti. That is called Videha Mukti. The dropping of the body of a realized person is called Videha Mukti. No more that person takes birth. And people ask, what will happen after that? If I don't take moksha, then what will happen? That question only will stop. Because then what will happen is the question of the ego, Mr. So and so. That ego only is dissolved. You experience infinite bliss. Do you ever ask what happens after bliss? Nothing. You are in bliss. Everything is for bliss. Now you got it. Now what will happen?
That's the actual happily ever after.
Yeah, that's actual happily ever after. There is no cause for sorrow in that.
Swamiji, we have already finished the data stage, like what you said. Just go nice, enjoy that. Because we reached the human. We got a human back.
But from human, I may go up and down anywhere. So I have to strive for moksha here and now. With that intensity that I want only mukti. Otherwise, according to karma, one will come any form. One can go back to Devata also. One can come back to human, one can go down, one can become anything, plant, bird, tree, animal, anything. And then when the opportunity comes again in human life, nobody knows. So goal of life is what? Destroy the causal body. Mission is to destroy it. Destroy ignorance. Avidya nasha is the goal of life, which is same as jnana prapti. Jnana prapti only will destroy avidya. So know who you are. How to know it? Not intellectually only. If I know this intellectually clearly that I am Atma, I am not the 3 bodies, then I have to sit and meditate and negate my identification. I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am not the intellect, I am Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham. That is the only method to realize the self. Go into samadhi, destroy the vasanas in samadhi, and destroy ignorance also in samadhi. And when living in the world, live with the bhava of karma yoga, then that also will destroy vasanas. If I don't live with the bhava of karma yoga, I live selfishly, I will add more vasanas. Vasanas are added by ego and egocentric desires. The more I live selfishly, more vasana I accumulate, more stronger is jiva bhava. The more I say I am here to serve, I am here to give, I am here to evolve, vasana gets exhausted, new vasana is not getting created. So that's how one has to exhaust vasanas in the external world as well as in meditation and become free. Ho gaya. Then Atma is realized. You are free. ठीक है. So 3 bodies are done. Atma is realized as different from three bodies. Technically, Atma Bodhi should be over with this. Now there are some more other analogies that will come, that we will see. Om Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.